the Fair Housing Act case, because this is also really important, and it's going to have long-term impact in other areas. Right now, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 to reject a case that was brought by the state of Texas. And the state of Texas was awarding tax credits for low-income housing in specific neighborhoods, specifically minority-dominated neighborhoods, but rejecting tax credits in white majority neighborhoods. And they were justifying this by saying, well, we are following the rules of the Fair Housing Act. We're not being discriminatory in our intent. We're just following federal mandates which govern the use of tax credits. Well, the argument that the Inclusive Community Project was making was the outcomes, the impact that your decision was having was discriminatory. You may not have had any discriminatory intent, although, well, all right, I'm not going to editorialize. Let's stipulate that you have no discriminatory intent. The impact of what you're doing is creating discrimination. And that is, if you only give low-income tax credits to developers in minority neighborhoods, essentially what you're doing is only having low-income housing in minority neighborhoods. I mean, it is creating, it's ghettoizing low-income people and hurting the ability into minority-majority neighborhoods and hurting the development opportunities there. Because let's face it, development comes to neighborhoods where there's money. And the Supreme Court agreed with the plaintiffs here that disparate outcomes, this notion that you can look at what the outcomes are here and see if it creates discrimination in some way or impacts a neighborhood in a different way, then you can actually consider that. Now, that is a long-standing principle that a lot of people felt was going to fall by the wayside because, well, let's face it, I mean, this is a right-wing court. This is going to have impact. Now, according to Kennedy, who wrote the majority opinion, this use of this dynamic of disparate impact, I should say, should be very limited, and you should be very cautious in its use. But this could have implications for things like the Voting Rights Act, right? Where intent isn't necessarily addressed in terms of how a change to voting procedures should be judged in a case where the Department of Justice says there's discrimination here. And we'll talk more about this when we recap this term of the Supreme Court. But the point is, these are both very good rulings. And a lot of people thought that this housing case was going to be the first attempt by the court to chip away at this concept of disparate impact, or that the idea that you could look at disparate impact as a way of judging whether or not there's discrimination. So this is good news. Very good news.